Hello and welcome to the Property Management Show. I'm your host, Alex Osenenko. My day job is the CEO of 4.5, a marketing company that works exclusively with fee-based property management companies. I spent the last 7 years of my life helping property management companies become more successful by improving sales, marketing, and operational efficiency. On this show, we'll deconstruct success into its key components and invite subject matter experts to help you improve every facet of your business. Thank you for tuning in and enjoy the show. Hey guys, welcome to the show. Thank you for tuning in today. I have a couple of very interesting guests. So today's the first episode. I'm going to have two guests because it takes at least two more. Besides myself to tackle this subject. And the topic we're all going to talk about is how to attract and retain top talent for your property management firm. But this is sort of like a really big topic. The specific challenge that these two gentlemen presented to me, and I think we're going to tackle today, or attempt to, is that 60% of real estate investors, according to Joe, are going to retire, right? 60% of industry operators might or will retire within the next 5 years. So why aren't we attracting the younger talent to the property management industry specific? And, partially another issue that we're going to tackle is the fact that, as Joe says, we're hiring people from Craigslist and other sources where they sort of looking to make the ends meet. And it's sort of transactional, and that translates into high turnover rates. So what we're going to explore is where to get top talent, specifically young professionals who will stay with your company, who will help you grow your company, how to compensate them, how to attract them, how to retain them. So with that, I'd like to introduce my guests, Joe Killinger. Did I say your name right, Joe?
You did.
Awesome. Joe Killinger and George Pino. That's a good name, yes. Man. I had a teacher in college, Mr. Pino. It was excellent. He drove a Porsche. A good guy, that one. Anyway, Joe and George, can you give us a little bit of introduction? You guys are experts in this field, and the notes that Neetu, our show producer, took for the pre-interview are fairly amazing. But I wanted to get the audience to kind of feel where your expertise is coming from.
Okay. Well, we have a real estate services website, the RDECOM. It services the property management industry and some residential real estate agents as well. We offer tenant screening, property insurance, different types of property insurance, renters insurance, as well as the way to do commercial loans. And we're building the back end out where you're going to be able to put on that. It's not ready quite yet. We're still in the building phase of this aspect of it. Is you're going to be able to put your properties for sale or lease on the property, find vendors, pretty much anything you want to do on a day-to-day basis in the property management industry.
So for a property manager or for an individual investor, who is your sort of main target there?
Both really. Both. Our target was, when we built the site, the target was investors in the Class B and on down asset classes. That was really our focus. So.
Gotcha.
And so most of our clients actually are a lot of them are property management companies, mid-sized property management companies. We actually come from a property management background. The site was built out for some of the needs that we saw and that we experienced from our own end of the property management, where we actually started investing in properties probably in the mid-90s, buying properties, hiring other outside fee managed properties, but then at a certain point taking it in-house when we couldn't quite find one that really treated our properties like we wanted to. From there, we actually started our own fee-based property management company. And when we branched out and started investing in other states, we noticed that there were some issues that we weren't aware of in Southern California that we found in Texas and elsewhere. And that's where the genesis for the RRD came about, to be able to service those ourselves and the clients and the other property management companies, really to build better communities with not just our own properties that we manage, but with all other management companies.
Gotcha. And you guys both sort of have experience with the challenges of managing a rental property, as well as the challenges of being a fee-based property management company. Is that right?
Sure.
Do you currently have that company still?
Yes.
Yes.
You do. Okay. So how do you come to be sort of passionate on the subject of talent growth? And tell me a little bit of your building story maybe, and what kind of brought you, because as a business owners, we're not born natural leaders, and we don't really know all these ways. We got to discover them. So it's like, take me through your sort of story there.
Go ahead. Well, again, a lot of this is coming from necessity, so to speak. And, one of the things that Joe and I, we've been business partners now since early 90s, 93. And one thing that we learned early on is that, right at that time, it was right after the earthquake hit right afterwards in Los Angeles. And also prior to that, we had the riots. And real estate itself was in a little bit of a recession, to say the least, out here. And we had to adapt to be able to survive. And one thing out of the necessity that we found is that it's a fine line with property management and fee managed companies, in that you want to give the best return for your clients, but at the same time you also want to be able to make a good return for yourself and make the property profitable, and without doing as much perhaps or making smart capital expenditures. So from there, what we did was we really had to find out what was the issues that we had, and we had growing pains like anybody else. And, you had mentioned before that 60% of the real estate service industry is reaching retirement age within the next 5 years. And that, if you don't mind just correcting a little bit, it wasn't actually what Joe was saying. This was actually a Forbes article.
Oh, I'm sorry. And, so, Glenn, I quoted that from the interview document. Thank you for actually bringing clarity to that. So, okay, so this is as good as it gets as far as a stat.
Yes.
Cool.
No, and it was actually a shocking number to us. We didn't really realize that, but then thinking about it and realizing, if you look at who your regional managers are, who your property managers are, and on down, they're older, and they've been in the business for quite some time, and a lot of them, historically speaking, we tend to try and we, as in the property management industry, we tend to try and recruit and bring in people, but at very starting off at very low income, leasing agents, or you're getting people who are trying to make ends meet as a on-site property manager for a small property, and then we try and groom them and get them into going. The issue that you run into is, a lot of times these are your employees that really have no interest, so to speak, in growing. They're happy where they are.
Got it.
And they're not
the
putting
coasters.
additional effort in. And
they're
so
coasters,
the idea
right?
is, how do we then recruit people? How do we recruit the new talent that's going to be with the company for a long time? Because ultimately, if there's high turnover, it's actually costing the property management company and us money, because it costs money to train. Every time you lose somebody, you have to invest that much more time in training somebody new and hoping they're going to work. And so, really, I think it's a fundamental shift in going after someone who's just looking to make ends meet versus someone who wants and is interested in this as a career. I think that's been an issue with the property management companies in general, because frankly, it's not a sexy career.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I can't agree with you more. So I run a marketing company, and we hire people out of college. So we essentially build people into the leaders, and the whole leadership team here is started here as an intern, right? Every single person started as an intern, and that really gives them the history with the company, and we expose them to all the different things, send them to conference. Over like 2-3 years, they really truly become the owners of this organization, right? In more ways than one. But you're right, in the property management, it is challenging. It's not sexy. It's sort of like, procedural, very by the book. And how do you guys overcome this challenge? How do you tackle this?
Well, for me, with anything, motivation, I think, is the key. And, why does someone want to get into it? What interests them? What's motivating them? And that has to do with anything from an employee to an investor to any company even. The motivation is what going to be the driving factor. So what we try and do is we actually go after and look for people who are motivated, not just because the motivation being I want to make ends meet, so to speak, or I need a job filler for right now, but more along the lines of, I'm interested in the property management industry because I want to be an investor. How can I learn off of your dime how to be a better investor, how to save money, how to be able to proactively basically learn from our mistakes that we've already learned from. So we're looking for someone who has that yearning for knowledge, that is wanting to improve themselves in that aspect. And they may not even realize it at the time, but then, some of the advertising that we do for employees, we talk about shaping the landscape of real estate, because that's really what you are doing from the leasing agent all the way up to the regional manager, especially if you're doing any kind of commercial real estate. But on the residential property management, on the fee management side, you still are helping shape that landscape. You're building communities. What you put forward and how you build and interact with your clients, and your clients being the residents, it is reflective of the community itself at large. And a bad property manager, a property being poorly managed, can pull an entire community down.
Oh, absolutely, man. This is so foundational. But so all these things, we'll unpack them in a second. Specifically, I really like the fact, I've always been sort of a big proponent of saying, look, it's property manager's job is very, very important. Number one, you're managing people's biggest asset, no doubt. Like most 99% of the people won't have larger assets than their real estate investments. And the other piece is you find people good places to live, and that also is foundational, right? The Maslow hierarchy of needs, satisfy the basic desire, or not desire, the basic need to like sustain and have substance and shelter. Heck, you're providing that as a property manager, right? So that is interesting to me and knowable. So this is something I knew, but the real estate investor is sexy. Becoming a real estate investor is sexy. And specifically Robert Kawasaki, there's all these other coaches that teach independence through real estate investing, right? And I have not connected that to hiring employees. This is a huge takeaway. So guys, for our audience, if you can position your job offer as sort of one of the huge benefits is learning to become the astute real estate investor. Man, that's sexy to me, doesn't it?
On somebody else's dime being the key thing,
Yes, on somebody else's dime. That is fantastic takeaway. Okay, all right, we're getting somewhere. I do have to mention a couple.
You learn the whole industry this way, from soups to nuts. You learn how to do the leasing and then as you move up within the company, onto the regional manager, it's just priceless information.
That's brilliant, Joe. I want to take a pause here for just 1 second and mention. I was supposed to be mentioning them up front, but we got kind of carried away with this topic. But I just want to say the two sponsors for this show is the NARPM, which is National Association of Residential Property Managers, amazing organization. I'll talk about them a little bit later in the show, and PM Growth Summit, which is the property management a conference for property management entrepreneurs. It's an annual conference happening this coming January. We'll talk about them in a moment too. But let's carry on. So, George, I sort of interrupted your flow. You were talking about creating or putting together or marketing this job opportunity as not a boring procedure by the book, but as a learning opportunity and also development or commitment or playing part in the community. What's next?
Absolutely. Well, what's next is you actually have to live up to that. And what I mean by that, I mean, it's key.
Little things, right?
If you're going to do a bait and switch, you have the same problem. You're just going to experience it a lot faster. They're going to come in, they're going to leave. So really, from there, it boils down to the company being actually open and responsive in training, in understanding, in listening. I think the most important and key aspect when it comes to attracting younger talent that's coming in is being open to their ideas. Now, granted, when I was young, I thought every single one of my ideas was fantastic. As I've gotten older, I've realized that 95% of them were probably junk and 4% were okay and maybe 2% were good. And see, right there, my math didn't even add up. Only 1%.
You got 1 extra percent there, yeah.
Exactly. So, but, I think being open to those ideas, and then if anything, it really reinforces the training aspect, because if you're open to the ideas, one, you can incorporate and actually potentially become a better company, more efficient, but at the same time, if it's an idea that you may have tried or looked at or worked or done, it really kind of shows the employee coming in that, one, yes, you are listening to them, but you've already have this experience that they have value to gain by sitting and working with you and learning more from you. From there, you want to reward that kind of performance. I think one of the bigger issues that we run into a lot of times is, the starting pay for people starting off here is pretty low in property management. And I understand that because, owning a property management company, we know the numbers are tight. We know the numbers are lean. You're not necessarily going to retire on property management until you get to a really large size. Yeah. But at the same time, we are a service industry. This is, we're providing a service, and people should be rewarded for good service and that goes down all the way down from the management companies down to the employees, and being able to attract the college-educated kids that are coming out that want to learn how to be investors and keep them with you. I don't mean that you need to start them off at $50,000 a year right out of college, but you want to have room for growth and show them that there are opportunities. Whether it's also a lot of property management companies also purchase and invest their own properties, and offering a employee profit sharing plan where they can invest into it and have actual limited partner ownership into the properties that the property management company may own. Things like that. It shows how they can become an investor.
George, that's awesome. Let's start sort of at the top of the funnel, because I feel this is we need to start kind of organizing this, because this is some amazing stuff. But we want to also get to not only why but the how-tos. So the top of the funnel is actually finding these people. And you talked about about putting together an internship program, going to colleges. Can you guys talk to me about the strategy you recommend for actually filling the top of the funnel? How to find the acceptable candidates or applicants?
I'll tell you what we do with our property management company. We have a intern program that we have utilized, and it has worked very, very well. Actually, we've got somebody starting here in the next couple of weeks. And then they usually tend to stay on for the long haul. And they come in, they usually start with just doing stuff around the office and doing some leasing, and then they grow from there. Another thing that we've done is we've got to know a lot of the high school counselors and talk to them about property management and the growth opportunities and how they can affect the community. And the same, we go out to small colleges right here in the area. We're in Santa Monica, so we just go out to Santa Monica College and others in Northridge and other small colleges and reach out to them and really tell them the offering that we have, and it's worked very, very well for us.
So they refer candidates to you? Is that how it works, Joe?
When they're talking to their students that are possibly interested in a career in property management, then they'll refer them over. So we will have conversations with those students at that time.
Got you. Can you guys help or our listeners to sort of scope out the internship program? What does it look like? Can you share any aspects of it that would be helpful?
The internship program, did you say?
Yeah, the internship program, because that's your top of the funnel, right? That's
right. Top of the funnel. Starting off, it could be as simple as usually it's starting off with some business development, database management. Have them work. It's daily grind kind of stuff that nobody really wants to do. From there, if they're really showing a little bit more of an interest, we're actually starting to show them and give them a little bit more opportunities to interact, both on whether it's showing properties that are vacant, to starting to work on the marketing aspects of the properties, the ads for the properties, reviewing the information for the properties that are going into the systems, where they're being placed, how they're updated, whether vacancies are being advertised in the Zillow, the Cozy, the Craigslist, and out here Westside Rentals or Apartments.com, and things like that. Also updating and hearing, and then from there, as they progress even further, we typically try and ask them to also get a real estate license for California. Are
they converted full time at that time, or are you still? What is the length of the internship, George? I'm sorry to interrupt.
Internship is generally it's 2 to 3 months.
2 to 3 months,
and usually they're college kids that are just graduating or going into their senior year. So it's normally during the summer months. Okay. The person that we have that's starting in a week is here for 10 weeks, so 2.5 months. He's actually coming out from New York and wanting to look at California. And, The last one we had was actually a mathematics major, believe it or not, and we convinced him to go into real estate after his internship.
I don't think that's that unreal. I mean, that's pretty relevant. But guys,
absolutely.
So 2-3 months. The data sciences and math. It's just only taking a bit of a hold in the real estate industry, but it's not even anywhere close to where it needs to be, in my opinion, in investment and property management real estate. That's where it needs to be, because there's a lot of opportunities for good data scientists to make big difference in predicting flows, as well as predicting consumer behavior and all that stuff.
Absolutely.
But do you guys pay your interns, or is it a free internship?
Usually it's a free internship. They're trading off the knowledge and the experience for that. There's a small fee that sometimes, we'll pay for some of the living expenses, things like that. But we typically don't pay for the actual, it's not a paid position.
Lunches.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
We pay for lunches and
Expenses.
I mean, you give them a little bit of a help, but not like there's no formal paycheck involved. Gotcha. Okay. And then so they go away.
Mm-hmm. They go away, or if they're at the end of the year, they stay on. And we may extend an offer, for employment to them. If we do, then they stay on and they start off. And generally speaking, they're going to start off as an assistant property manager, handling leasing, working with properties, learning part of the bookkeeping. We do things a little differently as well, in that a lot of the property management companies traditionally have a siloed approach toward how they work, meaning you have a leasing person that does leasing and leasing only. You have a bookkeeper that may handle all the accounts receivable. You have another person that does all the accounts payable. We try and have different positions interchangeable, so that they can actually learn the whole of the industry versus just one part of it.
Oh, that's really good. Keep their mind sort of challenged and occupied with interesting stuff. Okay, gotcha.
Mine's
How do you
challenging,
organize
interesting.
that?
It also allows us to, as opposed to bringing in, during vacation time frames, as opposed to bringing in somebody that doesn't understand the company culture or how we're operating, they already have they're working, like for instance, if we need someone in the bookkeeping or accounting department, as opposed to bringing in a part-time bookkeeper for a few weeks, they can actually, the person, since the assistant manager may have knowledge of some of the bookkeeping duties, know what to do, know how to do it for that period.
Gotcha.
And it makes it a lot more efficient, a lot more streamlined, but also it allows them to be able to see, one thing that we've noticed, especially in siloed companies, is that when you are not seeing the whole picture, you can be lost, you can lose the forest because of the trees. And I think in general it helps, because it helps our managers, it helps our regional managers to be able to see the whole picture. And if they understand how every aspect works, and that's their training from day one, it will then translate down the road. It also helps with any investor. As an investor, the colleges tend to really target more so, not so much the property management aspect of it, but they tend to target the financial aspects. Mm-hmm. They can talk about capitalization rates, they can talk about the finances, the mortgages, how to play the leverage game, all of that. But what they don't put in practicality is that, and what they don't really explain in practicality is that, if you can increase your income just a little bit, and your expenses stay the same just because you've increased it, your value of the property is exponential based upon today's cap rates. And, so just looking at ways and showing, what are the ideas, how we can do this, how can we increase income without increasing expenses, or are the expenses more capital expenditures, and how to look at it. So that's part of the training that we give
That's fascinating.
Down the road for everybody.
It's allowing them freedom to grow is what we try and do. We have them, they'll even want to go out and hang out with the maintenance guys for a day to really see how it works and see how the reporting works. So it's really critical to what we do.
I think a case study, if you don't mind. We had a manager that came to us. We had a 300-unit property in Texas that had absolutely no parking. And, in that North Texas area, well, let me rephrase that, had no covered parking. It had about 500 parking spots, but no covered parking. And in that North Texas area, it gets awfully hot in the summer, and in the winter, you sometimes get hailstorms. So people like to have covered parking. They actually approached us and said, I have a bid to install carports. I only want to install 100 of them because I can sell 100 of them. And they cost $750 to construct. So it's $75,000 out of pocket for you if you're going to put this on the property. And I can sell them for $25 a month. So $300 a year. Mm-hmm. On a cap rate basis, it increased the value of the property because that's pure income. There's no expenses in maintaining a carport. On a cap rate basis, it increased the property approximately $3,500 for every single one of those carports.
Wow. And that's
so
times
that cost
$75.
That cost $750. So it's a net profit of $2,250 in value. It was a no-brainer, and that was if our managers hadn't been able to think that way and explain it, we would have never done that. We wouldn't have thought of it.
So those of you guys that manage single-family homes, the math is the same. People don't get this sort of advice, and it's not that complicated, right, George? I mean, it's complicated if you don't know it, but if you know it and if you understand, especially for somebody that just finished college, that managing finance, This is like peanuts, right? This is like it's real world, but all you got to do is show them how to connect it to what they already know, right? And then
absolutely. It's not very difficult. Heck, if I can think of it and do it, it can't be very difficult.
But the problem is our property management firms are not that they're not positioned to serve the investor this way.
No, and I think of it is part of it is the mentality or the thought process. It's really just connecting it. I think they are positioned to potentially do it or to make those offers and advice. I think the issue is that they don't necessarily think of it that way all the time. As opposed to looking at what's in the best interest for the client for their long-term goals, they're looking at, well, how can I keep the expenses down? So they may look at, for instance, those carports as an expense when in reality it's a capital expenditure, and that's going to increase the value of the property and increase income in the long term. But on the immediate first year, you're going to lose money for the expense. Just like, one of our practices is we do a lot of hard surface flooring, primarily because we're in BC neighborhoods and a lot of the carpet needs to be replaced upon move out. With hard surface flooring, we actually get a higher rent. It costs more to install it, but we don't have to replace it every time.
Yeah.
So
we just communicate it to our owners. We have a conversation when they say, listen, we would like to do this. This is why, and here's the numbers that support our decision. So the property management company has got to have an open door communication with their owners.
So as a property management company, that's how you retain and gain new clientele. That's how you get referrals when you're doing work like this, which is, I think, what they are hired for. But a lot of people that I know, a lot of property management companies, they're sort of afraid or they're not really positioned. And you're right, positioned meaning like, they have the employees, the experience, but they don't put the education forward. They don't lead with education. That's exactly what you guys are doing. You lead with education, you lead with information, and you say, look, we're your advisors, just like your tax advisor is going to tell you not to do this, your doctor is going to tell you not to do this, and your real estate manager is going to tell you not to do this, and or to do this, right? And you guys are that position that. And so I want to empower my listeners, the audience, to do something like, and we have one of companies I know that does this really well is Steve Rosenberg, and he runs a company in Houston, and he does this. He teaches his people, and they do this sort of advising. But a lot of our customers do single family, but a lot of investors. So I'd say about 80% of their portfolio, well, in some cases 80 to 50% of their portfolio is investor driven, and the rest are accidental landlords, accidental landlords, basically. George, like somebody that says has to move for work, like you move from Dallas to Santa Monica, you rent your Dallas home out. So you're not truly the investor, but a lot of their portfolio is, and especially with the current macroeconomic climate, meaning that look at the baby boomers are going to retire. They're not going to want to manage their own properties, and 80%, and I don't know, argue with me on this stat or contradict me on the stat if you know better. But according to my sources, and I've looked at multiple, 80% of real estate in the U.S., residential real estate, is self-managed.
Yes, and I'd say that's actually pretty accurate. Over 75% of all investors own only 1 to 4 units of the rental markets that's out there, and that's a stat that I recently saw. So, I would say 80%. That's probably a pretty accurate stat. And
the reason why is I think it's twofold. It's threefold. It's one is money in the perception of cost versus value, and the property management industry is not doing anything to solve that. Number two is trust. They don't think you can do it better than they can. And then number three, there's probably multiple other small reasons, but those two are the big ones. And I think bringing the talent, as you called it, from the inception, sort of right out of college, putting them through internship, having them to do different jobs, and then teaching them how to consult with clients, no matter what position they hold, is brilliant strategy to really attract the right sort of landlord to your service, right? So that's a good. Let me take a pause right here. I know, George, we have. I think next I want to tackle. You mentioned retention and culture. I'd really like to pick your brain on that a little bit because, again, this is procedure by the book business. You already kind of challenged that in a few very interesting ways, but I want to see how you guys put together your culture to be able to retain the talent that you got. But let me stop for a second and talk about the PM Growth Summit. It's our sponsor. It is as I mentioned, a once-a-year conference for property management entrepreneurs, the business owners and their teams who are looking to grow. This year, we're going to host it in San Diego. It's going to be January 31st, February 1st, and February 2nd in the Gaslight District. A very nice hotel. For the price of attendance, we're covering all of the education, meals, coffee, snacks, dinners, entertainment, networking. We're going to record all the videos. We're going to put together all the notes and send them to you just like we did last year. The drinks and beer and wine, all the social events, as I said, are covered. Other thing is, property management conference have not really been sort of this engaging, this involved. We're looking to connect really top-minded entrepreneurs in the space. We're looking to remove every obstacle from every distraction from their experience and have them focus on one thing, and that is building relationships, but two things: building relationships with the like-minded individuals, as well as learning from the top-notch speakers we have. Go to pmgrowsummit.com, check out our last year conference, look at the lineup, look at the talks we had, look at the attendees we had, and you will soon be able to buy a ticket. So anyway, we hope to see you at that conference. Thanks for sticking with me, Joe and George. Let's keep running with this. So we left off at culture or retention.
Well, culture retention. I think that, especially for the younger crowd, and this is actually something that Joe's been fabulous with, is coming up with ideas to really keep it engaging. Everything from, I think if you're going to engage and try and go after the younger generation, you have to make it fun. It can't just be a dungeon where you're sitting in the back of the office just typing in all day long and making phone calls to tenants that are late on the rent. You have to have fun doing it. You have to enjoy it. Everything from, some of our office meetings, we tend to try and have something fun, whether it's a hula hoop contest or that little pencil challenge thing or whatever, and give them some rewards. Have fun, engage. I think more importantly, though, again, it's really keeping that open communication. The culture has to be not just I'm here to help you and teach, but also that I'm hoping you're going to teach me something. I've learned early on, usually from my wife of 25 years, that I can learn something new. She tells me that every day.
I think you have to also take a look at your physical office. I walk with the RD. Well, we visit a lot of property management companies, and I walk in and I see, still see the floral print couches and the old dirty ficus in the corner. Take a look at that. Take a look at that. Do you really? The younger generation may not want to be around that every day. Maybe some new paint, some brighten it up. make it a place, a destination you really want to be at every day.
So,
clean it up.
IKEA. Go to IKEA and get some
Yeah.
modern stuff.
He is good.
I mean, God.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Floral couch. Jesus Christ.
I know. Still.
So environment and fun. Any specific advice on like how to do the fun part? You mentioned pencil content. What is that? What is the pencil thing?
Oh, kind of,
bottle flip.
The bottle flip, and or throwing like a pencil to try and bounce it off to get it to land in a cup. Different things like that. We even had, we had a paintball. We went out and took the whole team out for paintball. And surprisingly, Joe got shot a few times by accident.
Yeah.
But
another thing that works
we have fun
very well is we give each one of the employees a paid day off to go volunteer at a local charity.
Yeah, that's really good.
That means a lot to our employees. They love doing that, and they wear company the T-shirt. They go out, they volunteer for the day. Some split it up; they do half day and a half day, but we give them the freedom to do that. The thing is to create freedom. We want an open line of communication. What do you think we're doing wrong? What do you think we're doing right? What could we be doing better? And how could we be doing it?
Yeah.
Create freedom. I'm going to challenge you on that real quick. I first of all, I love it. And we have an amazing culture, at least from my standpoint here, 4.5, and we grow people and we grow with the people. But creating freedom has gone both ways for me sometimes, you want people to speak their mind. You want the ideas to come from the very front lines. The intern can have the best idea in the world that will help your business succeed for many years to come. Yeah. But at the same time, there's so much freaking noise, guys. Remember the 95%, George, that you just mentioned? 95% of your ideas when you were young were not that good? Well, it usually is the case about...
Yeah.
How do you deal with the noise?
Yeah, no. And just for clarification, I said 95% of the ideas. I thought my ideas were all good when I was young, but 95% aren't that good. They still aren't.
Right. Got it.
Okay. The idea part had nothing to do with the age part, but it's. But I think the noise, that's just it's how you react to that noise. I mean, if you put it down, and it comes from the top down, and what I mean by that is, I think every one of from the ownership all the way down in the property management or company, the ownership to the regional managers, to the field representatives, everybody there, we should treat everybody the same way. And what I mean by that is, the way I speak to you, to a client, to an employee, to an intern, is going to be the same. And I'm going to take whatever they tell me or anything that I hear, and I'm going to use it and make that decision based upon my experience of whether or not that might be a good idea or not. Ultimately, yes, I have the final say, and Joe has the final say in all that. But we want to open and listen, nor will we ever say, oh, my God, there's two ways of doing that. As, that's a great idea. We've actually tried something like that versus, you got to be kidding me. That's the stupidest thing I ever heard. If you
you do the why thing is, why do you think this is better than what we're doing?
The why
now?
thing, okay.
And if you ask them why, it's just and friends have told me, or maybe this is you have two ears and one mouth. Listen to them. Why? And then ask them why. Just really, you have to be patient and hear them through, and then ask them why. And maybe there's something there. A lot of times there's not, but you never know.
That is brilliant. I like,
especially when it gets into your SEO and all that on your website.
Oh yeah.
I like that. So treat everyone with respect and be sort of respectful to everyone on an equal level, and then ask why. Listen, be patient, ask why. So that's good. That's a good way to maintain the freedom and the freedom of ideas and get it flowing. So okay. We're retention. Any other points, guys, on retention? Any like nuggets of wisdom that you found were useful, or any mistakes you made that you don't want to you can help our audience avoid?
Keep this under an hour.
Well, we're 38 minutes right now. We got another 10. Another 10. So yeah, we got to tackle things quickly here.
Yeah, we've made mistakes, but I think ultimately when it comes to retention as well, I think what we need to look at in this industry is also the technologies that are coming up. Right now, we are very much an industry that likes, I know investors to this day that still handwrite out ledgers. And literally, they will.
I believe you.
They know everything that's going on.
I know one.
Down to the penny. But they still handwrite it out. It's not the most efficient use. And if that's how you insist on doing your business, you will never attract anybody that's young, that is going to, they're not,
It's not progressive enough.
It's not progressive enough. And there are a lot more efficiencies that you can create and use by and embrace that, will help your business grow as well.
There's a lot of new technologies coming out for our industry. I mean, if you go on techcrunch.com or crunchbase.com, get in there and just kind of scroll around and see the tech that's coming out. You'll be amazed. It's some good stuff, and you can't be afraid of it. You got to dig in and try it.
Yeah. No, I'm with you on that. So the technology is a big part of it. So I think we got a good sort of handle on retention. I did want to talk about, you mentioned in the pre-interview, I really wanted to make sure I ask you this question. It's about performance compensation and bonus pay. Have you guys experimented with that? Has that been working well for you, and how do you structure that?
Okay.
Yes. The short answer.
Okay.
We believe fully in performance compensation. And, excuse me. Been talking so much, and I've been out of.
It even starts at everybody is in business development essentially. I mean, we have a business development team, but if you're out and one of our employees, I don't care if it's a leasing agent, it's a regional manager, a maintenance guy, they bring in a fee management deal, they get a fee for bringing that in, and so they're always out there helping the company grow. And it's usually we typically just give the first month's management fee, so it's not huge, but it's enough that they're out there doing it for us and making money for them.
It's a reward, yeah. People want to be rewarded, no doubt.
To increase bring more jobs to the company.
Absolutely, and then depending on the skill level set and where we're talking about, some of the regional managers are actually bonused by how their portfolios are doing when it comes to net operating income. But to be frank with you, that's also checked to make sure that a smart regional property manager can affect the net operating income by not doing repairs that should be done.
Right. So that could be game. So you want to make sure.
So we're actually taking a look and maintaining it, but it's more about where can we see and what kind of bonuses. We also give bonuses for just getting a the other day we just got an amazing letter from a property that we got it from not just the owner but the broker, because we lost the management because they just sold it. And they sold it. It was a home, single-family home that we were managing. And I ended up getting a letter that was addressed to me saying, I wanted to thank the manager and your field supervisor for an amazing job. I don't think we would have been able to sell this property and do it, and you've been amazing the whole time. What was even more impressive was I got another letter or a card 2 days later from the broker that sold the property saying essentially the same thing. Obviously that's going to be rewarded. Sometimes, in this case, we're getting a gift card probably and just, saying, here, have dinner on us. Go out
to the lead,
take a nice time to the lead.
So reward for exemplary service.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. Right. If anything, I think that's what needs to be rewarded more than anything else. Because, like I said, we are a service industry, and it's a lot of times that gets forgotten.
Yeah, we're not going to have time to get into this. I really want to kind of explore this topic further. Maybe we'll do another episode on this, on performance pay, because I have some ideas and I've tried multiple things here. We always experiment. My advice to the audience would be, experiment with this, but align it, right? Guys, align it with the company's sort of growth and company's direction and objectives. Like, that is really key. But I like that exemplary service award where, have something of value, like dinner, not just a plaque, right? But something of value as well as a plaque, right? As well as recognition for exemplary service. And that could come, I'm just thinking out loud, that can come in multiple ways. It can come as a letter, come as an email from a client. You can't fake that. You can't game that. No. A customer loves you. So
if you send them out to dinner and then all of a sudden a waiter brings a bottle of wine up to their table, that speaks volumes of how much you actually really appreciate that employee.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it creates longevity.
Well, and to that extent, if I can just throw this out, one of the things that we notice is that we're very big believers on experiential versus just giving them money, so to speak. So even our Christmas gifts, and instead of doing bonuses, we actually prefer to give gifts to be able to treat the actual employees. Something, and that way it takes a lot more effort and time because we have to know what they like and what they want.
Yeah.
And try and get them something that they would never be able to get themselves or do for themselves. And, because ultimately the bottom line is nobody is going to remember how much money they have left in the bank when they're 95, 100 years old, but they may remember that amazing trip they had or that amazing dinner they had or that gift that they've always wanted to give themselves that, someone gave them.
Well, that parachute jump that they did.
The parachute jump.
Yeah. That they lived through.
One of our guys is a big Green Bay Packers fan, so we got him a whole Green Bay's outfit and everything and stuff like that. But
well, it depends on the size of your company. I mean, if you're a smaller company, that works great. Bigger companies, obviously.
Yeah.
That's a full-time job.
You can have your managers do that, but guys, I'm going to take a pause here and talk about NARPM. We're running out of time, but I really want to ask you one other question, and that has to do with the profit sharing and stuff you mentioned, because I think that's really key. I want to explore that a little bit before we finish, but I have to talk about one of my most favorite associations in the world, and the sponsors of the show. It's a NARPM. You guys familiar with NARPM at all?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Excellent. So,
great organization.
Well, actually, the RD is part of it. So,
yes.
Oh, so okay, really cool.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. So your company, your service company is part of that on the vendor side?
Yep.
Yes.
Cool. Yeah, us too as a 4.5. But so NARPM specifically, I want to talk about their RPM, which is Residential Management Professional, and MPM, which is Master Property Management Property Manager designations. So, guys, if you're not part of NARPM, or if you are part of NARPM and have not put yourself through these educational classes to earn these designations, you're missing out. I've met a lot of MPMs, and those guys have put in a lot of hours to earn that title or to earn that designation, and they're some of the most successful property management entrepreneurs I've ever met, and they're always leading the pack in innovation, in tech, in people, in teams, in everything. So I highly recommend you look at narpm.org, narpm.org, click on their education, look for the RMP and MPM requirements, and not only you will get coaching and get better at running your business, you'll also discover new revenue streams, you will build a significant support network, and discover deep friendships. So check out narpm.org, click on education, and go and get yourself a designation. All right, so let's do this, guys. I really want to know this because I'm actually very curious for my own company. I'm looking to restructure, experiment with things. How do you do your profit sharing? Can you share some of that with us?
Well, profit sharing is actually relatively new. But, we also, as I mentioned, we buy properties. We started off as an investment company before we started doing property management. And, how we look at things and how we approach ultimately, if they want to be a ownership, we think that everyone should be an owner in real estate, or an investor in real estate. It gives a different perspective once you are.
Compassion.
Absolutely. But it also, even if they have just a small ownership stake, it's no longer someone else's money. It's all theirs. And so they have a better eye, they have a better understanding of where the owners are coming from. One of the things that we've done is look at limited partnerships where the vested profit sharing people can actually have a ownership interest under a limited partner, so they don't have a say in a property that the company may be.
So we do stock options for employees. Is that sort of something similar? Similar?
Similar in the sense that I think the stock option gives them interest in the company itself.
Correct.
It doesn't necessarily give them an ownership interest in a property. And what I mean by that, it does if the company is actually buying property as well. But more importantly, I think they can actually say, I own a piece of this property. It gives them that sense of ownership. You know, even though it may be very small, a very small percentage, but they actually they can understand what it's like to get a dividend check. You know, and what it's like to make those decisions as an owner. And, you know, it changes the perspective tremendously. More importantly, it shows them that, you know, it's a way that they can potentially get ownership quicker, and, you know, something that they may have never thought was possible.
Wow. Okay. So that is a very unique way to compensate. So I know you're starting with it. But
some of our clients set aside a percentage of profits, and then they have a profit sharing plan, and that's been working pretty well. Yeah, as well.
Really good. All right. So the idea is for your own properties, as an organization, when you buy your own properties, you know, bringing your employees, your top employees, into sort of limited partner realm as a part owner of that property. A small part, but a part owner nonetheless. Sort of an interesting way to get them to understand the business, commit, and show a sense of ownership.
Yeah, and I think in that instance also everybody's goals are very much aligned as well. I mean, you start off with a property manager who has, you know, they fully understand, you know, the end goal, the investment, where they wants to go, and how to, you know, they understand that capital expenditures can actually improve a property and make it better and make the investment stronger at that point. So they can actually start thinking along the lines of an ownership, and so their goals are very much aligned with the company's, the investment goals, everything else, and it makes it's a win-win for everybody, I think.
Gotcha. Well, guys, I mean, it's been an amazing ride for this webinar. We've covered a lot of topics very fast, and let's see what our audience questions will be. Perhaps we'll do a follow-up sessions on one or two different subtopics, because we ran through a lot of things here. Do you want to tell people how to find you? And you know, you mentioned RRD. What is the website address that people can go and check you out?
www.therrd.com. THERRD.com.
Gotcha. All right, Joe and George, thank you for your time. A couple of very smart guys. Check out their website, and we'll see you guys next time.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us, Alex.